Hey everybody, Rob, John Deere Lawn Machinery. Hope you are all well. And we're going to start a little video series of just looking at the different tractors that we sell here and a few maintenance points that you can do throughout the year and the basic problems that may occur, or we get phone calls, and it's very simple things without us having to go out and look at it all the time. So we're going to start the X590 from John Deere. A few basics things. So first thing to do is fuel. Make sure you're using good quality fuel and fuel that hasn't been sat around for like 6 months. Make sure you're recycling your fuel, you're using it regularly. Obviously fuel goes in fuel tank. Check your tyre pressures on your machines, guys. I'll double check, they'll be different for each machine. This one is, and I'm going to look under the bonnet because it tells me, 14s on the front, 10s on the rear, PSI. If you've got wonky tyre pressures, you're going to get wonky cuts because obviously the machine's moving, or if you've got too low or too high, then the height adjustment's not going to read to what it should be. Oil, they've all got oil in. Normally it's got a yellow top, When you do it, take it out, you struggle to see it because it's in the oil, but you've got your oil level there. When you check it, just place it back on, don't screw it in. All right, so just place it back on. All right, and then that way, that's nice and easy. Obviously your battery's there. If you need to charge it, try and do a trickle charge. Don't give it a big boost like you do with like a car battery. Trickle charges on that. That's just pointed out what's trickle charge mean. It's just basically you're putting a little bit of electrical current into it over a longer time rather than just hitting it with a big boost. So when you jump start a car, for instance, it's just like giving lots of power to it and it fires it up. So they're fairly small batteries compared to a car. So a little bit of trickle charge, 12 volt, overnight or over a few days, especially in the cold. If you get cold, we don't get cold weather anymore really. But if you're further up north, maybe in Scotland, you get snow, it might be worth every now and then putting it on a trickle charge in the garage just so the battery isn't running down. All right. They don't last forever. If you buy a battery and you get 3 years out of it, you've probably done quite well, so yeah, another thing to check. If you're going to park your machine up for a couple of months, I would probably either go out and run the machine up a couple of times and leave it running for 10 minutes, 15 minutes to get everything moving, the battery will recharge itself. If you're not going to do it, put a trickle charge on it, once a month or something, just to pump some energy back into it. Okay, so that's the, and you've got air filters and stuff to check, but you should, they're all serviced yearly, or you should service them yearly. John Deere recommend around about 100 hours or yearly, a bit like cars, 12,000 miles or yearly. So this is the basic stuff to keep an eye on regularly. All the other stuff gets done when you bring in for a service. So that's your, and to open the bonnet, we start with the bonnet open. Most of them, you just put your hand in there and it lifts. The one thing to say is, in the winter, guys, all these hoods, no matter what brand you buy, they do get quite brittle if it gets frosty. So open these carefully, all right? In the summer, they're all nice and flexible, so don't just go like that. You'll probably snap the end of the bonnet off, all right? So just nice and gentle over. So that's basically a bit of maintenance. Clean your deck as much as you can. When it comes in for a service, all decks get taken off and done properly. If you've got one of these, you're probably au fait of using it. But just to run through quickly, this one's a fuel injected engine, so it's a bit different, there's no choke. With all machinery, and it's not a hard and fast rule, but it's a good thing to get into, you should always get onto the machines from the left-hand side. And people are like, why is that? Because most throttles or accelerator, or whatever you want to call them, hydrostatic box is always on the right. So when you step onto the tractor, you've got no chance of pushing levers or buttons or anything that's going to cause you to move or engage anything. So always get in the habit of getting on the left-hand side. On these, I'll find my key a minute. On these 590s, they're really easy to start. Foot on the brake, as normal. Stick the key in, off you go. I'm not going to start it up because we're in the showroom. But standard foot on the brake, key, nice and easy. You've got forward and back hydrostatic like you do on all John Deere's. So one of the major things people ring up about is tractor won't start. It will never start if that comes around this side of the tractor. One, you've got to make sure, if you look at my foot, it's all the way down. If you do halfway, it's not going to work. It's got to be all the way down. There's a sensor in there that contacts to make sure it knows that you're putting the brake down. One of the other common things we get is I've been using it all morning, for instance, and now it won't start. When you've got your blade engagement, leave it there. Yeah. If you've left it up, nothing's going to happen. No matter what you press, it's just going to it's not even going to tick. So, and it can be overlooked sometimes. You're in a rush or you jumped off the tractor to sort something out and it's all stopped. You know, so just double check that is all the way down. On these tractors, there's not much else to look at, to be fair. If your blades aren't engaging, obviously you've got something potentially stuck underneath. So open up the flap on the side, have a look underneath. If you've got some car, I always say to people, you've got some of those old car ramps that you can just drive the front end up onto. You might have a stick or something that's wedged in there you've picked up, you don't realise. So all those basics, before you sort of start ringing and your local dealer and saying it's not working, there's a few bits you can check. So make sure your foot is all the way down. Make sure that is off instead of on. Check there's nothing stuck under the deck. The amount of times we've been out to people and it's, oh, there's something stuck under, I didn't think about looking there. And then they get charged for us for going out to fixing it. So simple things like that. And the other thing is, if that comes around the back of the tractor, you'd probably be aware if you've got one of these, you've got your hydrostatic dump valve, all right? So what that means is, at the moment, you can push it, but you're pushing against the hydro box. Pull it out, and you makes it nice and easy. So if nothing's happening when you're pushing your pedals, just double check that is in fully. You know, if you've been putting a trailer on or something at the back here and you've caught it and it's sort of come out halfway, you're going to get intermittent. So check that. And also that is a second thing is if you have broken down and something and you're out in the middle of the field and you want to get your tractor back to your shed or your garage, obviously pull it out and you can push it. Well, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it's going to be easier. You know, I pushed one of these across an acre field and I was bloody knackered afterwards. But it means you can get your tractor back to somewhere safe. You know, if you've got to wait a day or two for someone to come out and fix it. So that's the first one in our series of sort of quick checks on a John Deere. Like always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.